Welcome back to the channel. Gosh, it's getting messy in here. Today we are, you like my fancy pillowcase covering the cylinder head? Today we're gonna be cleaning all of these pistons, getting all the carbon buildup off of them. We're using just a bucket with some degreaser in there, a whole bunch of the red degreaser. It was out of a spray bottle. I emptied, I think, 2 or 3 spray bottles in there. Here are couple of the ones that we cleaned and took the rings off. We're going to re-ring all of these pistons. You want to get all of the carbon buildup that you can off of them. And if you see any chunky stuff in the grooves where the piston rings go, those are very important. You want to get all of the junk off. If there's some staining in there, it's okay, but anything where you feel some chunks in there, you want to get those off, because if the rings can't seat all the way in that groove, they're going to be pushed out a little bit, and you're going to end up with your piston either seizing in the cylinder or the cylinder walls getting real scraped up. So get them as clean as you can. Here are the ones that we haven't cleaned yet. You can see how gross they are in comparison to these that have been cleaned. You can see chunks of carbon buildup all over the place. We're going to get these cleaned up best we can. They're not going to be perfect, but none of these pistons have any detonation damage on the tops or on the edges. They're actually in really good shape, so we're going to reuse them. We're just going to put new rings on them, new bearings for the rods, and they should be good to go after that. Now, this is my routine whenever I clean up any of these parts with all of the carbon buildup on them. Degreaser in a bucket, let it sit for 10 minutes if you have good degreaser, and then pull it out. And then I've got them in a clean oil pan. Well, right now it's not clean anymore because I've cleaned those other 2 pistons in here. Use some 00 or 000 steel wool. Don't be rough on it, and don't use like #1 steel wool because you don't want to leave a bunch of scratches. You just want to have that steel wool kind of work that carbon buildup off after it's been sitting in the degreaser for a bit. Do that. If you need to put it back in the degreaser a second time, put it back in there, work on another piston, and so on and so on. Then, don't forget, this steel wool, it leaves bits all over the place. Little fragments of it kind of come off as you rub it onto a part and you clean it up. Next thing you want to do after you're all done and you got it as clean as you want it, use some carb cleaner over your pan, obviously, because you don't want it to get everywhere. Spray down the piston top, all of the grooves, everything. Really generously. You want to kind of soak it down over and over, go back over the same areas. You want to get all of the loose carbon buildup and the debris that's left. You want to get it off of there. You'll see it's kind of going to come off, and it'll be brown liquidy stuff that just kind of drips off. Even though it looks clean, that carb cleaner is going to get all the rest of that residue off. And then the other thing, you want to spray it down real good. You want to get any bits of the steel wool off of it. You can't see some of those little small bits, so you want to get it all off of there. Once you're done with the carb cleaner, get a clean terry cloth. You can see a couple of dirty ones I got here. Get a clean terry cloth and wipe it all down all over. Then put it aside on a mat like that and go on to the next piston. Got these 3 done. Let's see, they're all nice and clean. Might go back over the grooves on these 2 just a little bit. This one came out really clean. That one's soaking, and these 2 are still remaining. While they're just soaking, I'm gonna use my time here a little wisely. I got a brand new piston ring set from Toyota. That's the part number. Should have 3 little baggies in here. Each baggie has all of one type of ring. So that's the thick one. These are the little bicycle chain looking rings, along with the skinny ones that go on top and bottom. And then this is the other thick one. Now, you can't just throw a ring on a piston and stick it in a cylinder. You've got to do what's called clearancing for the rings. You've got to actually clearance and size the rings. They come a little bit bigger than what you would probably need. And for each one, you've got to put it into the cylinder. So literally in here, you put it in the cylinder and you measure the clearance, and then you use a piston ring grinder. I'll show you the one I have. It's just a little DIY at home piston ring grinder off of Amazon, pretty cheap. I'll put the link down in the description for that as well. And you essentially grind the ends of the rings until you reach the specified clearance based on the OEM spec. Every single piston clean. They're great. I mean, they actually came out a lot better than I thought. I've got the center ring and then the 2 oil rings on top and bottom on. I gap those. Let me show you what to do. So these are for number 6, and you want to do 1 cylinder at a time, and you want to keep those rings set aside and remember which cylinder they go in. There might be small variations from 1 cylinder to the next. You never know. Then the next thing you do, this piston doesn't have the rings on it yet. You can see. Next thing you do, bring the piston over, set the ring down reasonably low. Doesn't have to go all the way down. See where it is right there? Then you take your feeler gauge, and I can't really do it with my hand on the camera, but you take your feeler gauge and put it right into that gap. Let me see, can I do this with one hand? Yep, there we go. Can you see it's in there? It's hard to see on the camera, but it's in there. And you want it to barely go in there. If it goes in there too easily, you probably got too big of a gap. And then get those on. Next, you're gonna do the number 2 ring and the number 1 ring, and they are labeled in the bags they come in. So this one is all of the number 2 rings, and then this one is all of the number 1 rings. You want to gap those as well. I'm going to try to get them all as close as I can, or sorry, 0.018 or 0.020. Somewhere in that range will be good. And then the way you put the rings on, the accordion style ring, the compression ring, it just slips on. The 2 oil rings, I try to put 1 gap on facing this way and 1 gap facing this way. And then the number 1 and number 2 rings, I try to face them opposite of each other as well. And since these 2 are on the back and front, I'm going to put those 2 on these 2 sides. Gap and clearance the rings, all I'm using is this cheap Amazon kind of at-home do-it-yourself ring grinder. This one's already ground, so I'm not going to grind it again, but essentially what you do is put it in here, line it up with the 2 pins right there, hold it down with one hand, kind of put a little bit of pressure on it inwards, and then you rotate this guy, and that grinding wheel in the middle grinds it just a little bit, and you want to make small incremental grinds. You don't want to grind too much off because you can't add more metal. You can always take more metal off, but you can't add more metal. So do a little bit at a time until you get a feel for how much you need to take off, and again, do 1 cylinder at a time, and make sure you keep those rings in a place where you remember which cylinder they go to. Check out how clean these pistons got. 200 and, what is it, 20,000 miles or something like that. They look fantastic. Look how clean these got. I didn't get all in there. All I used was degreaser. I got a bucket of degreaser here. Let them sit in there for about 10 minutes each. Then I used some 00 steel wool. Not real harsh or anything, just to knock off any of the carbon buildup that was on there. And they came out spotless. And then finally, I sprayed them down with carb cleaner, get all the gunk off, and they look spotless.